Can you tell me a little bit about this book, Yoga Unveiled?
Yep, Yoga Unveiled, which is my translation interpretation of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, this is actually the 5th version, so I started maybe 12, 13 years ago. Before I did that, I had a deep prejudice against the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali because I bought into this notion that Patanjali was a dualist. And my experience, my practice primarily of Zen, made that an untenable proposition that anybody with any spiritual understanding could be a dualist. But then I heard a talk by a Cambridge Don on the second Yoga Sutras, in which he said Patanjali is not a dualist, and he gave this fantastic 2-hour explanation of why Patanjali was not a dualist. And so then I started working on it, and what it is basically, it's a presentation, interpretation of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras that makes sense of what it means to be human. It's not an esoteric, mystical power mechanism, as many of the translations are, where you feel intimidated by not really understanding what this person is trying to say, whether that person is Patanjali or the translator or the interpreter. So it's definitely a user's guide. However, Patanjali's original text is a subtle and very profound one. So that means that any interpretation of it, any translation, any interpretation of it, is going to have to reflect that subtlety and that profundity, which of course Yoga Unveiled does. And in doing so, basically, the overall thrust of what's being said is an explanation of the subtleties of how the mind works, and how in becoming intimate, just by becoming intimate with the way that the mind works, the mind can become free from the unhelpful habits that it's accumulated through its inculturation. And that's about it, really.
Is this a book for mainly yoga posture practitioners?
No, I don't think so. I think it's a book for anybody who's interested either in the role that the mind plays in being human, anybody that's interested in the nature and significance of consciousness to being human, or anybody who's interested in the issue of what I call existential suffering. Is it possible for human beings, despite the fact that all kinds of things are going to happen in their lives that they're not going to like people dying and economic crises or whatever, nevertheless, is it possible for human beings to really be at peace, to really appreciate being human? Anybody who's interested in that question, which I think is any intelligent person, will appreciate reading the book.